Hello guys. So in this video I'm going to start with cloud computing. So cloud computing is that the data is stored on the distant data centers. So whenever the data is in distant data centers, then we talk about network centric computing and network centric content, right? So what is network centric computing? So before 1990s there was the concept of grid computing. So you have a uh, uh, computers whose infrastructure was put together in as a heterogeneous set of computers, and then they had different administrative domains. So this is called a grid computing, and this was followed by utility and cloud computing, right? So we talk about we also talk about P2P when we talk about network centric content, network centric computing, P2P, and also the semantic web. So because we talk about semantic web, what it means is it helps lay people to find, create, and to find and and create and then benefit from searches that they provide on the web. So they find related information from the web. That is semantic web, right? So this what will happen to this in the context of uh, a network centric content. So a content these days are being added to the to service at a much faster rate. So the content you can't at the rate at which the content is being pumped into the internet means that you need something similar to content mining. So what is mining in semantic web, the same is applicable for content mining. So you should be able to present, so the user, any layman, should be able to find related pictures or videos based on the content, right? Based on the content. So that is called that is network centric content. So this means that wherever the content lies, so that is where you have to develop apps that can produce these related contents. So let's say, for example, take for example that you have Google search. So Google has its own uh, you know it has its own forms, right, of computing forms of uh, several uh, several computing forms of computers, huge computers, and they store the search results. So let's say, as a layman, I try to find, I have a dog, and I'm trying to search for a food that the dog likes, let's say a German Shepherd, and that likes food similar to a certain dog food, right? So how does Google get the result back? It perhaps based on the number of people who have successfully clicked and purchased, right? It does a crawling, so it gets that information and then presents to you, right? So any app, so all this data, where does it lie? It lies on Google's data center. So anyone who writes a software that will give this related information should write it such that it can be deployed on the cloud, on the internet, where this data lies, right? So it will be much faster because it lies on the internet, right? It doesn't lie on a local data center technically, right? It lies on the internet, and you make calls over the internet. So this is what is, in my opinion, is a simple explanation of how cloud computing is in practice.